Welcome to my workshop. You are watching Casual DIY channel, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you my thoughts, my review and my opinion on the table saw from Metabo, the TS254. Now, if you are looking for all the specs, all the features and everything this machine has, well, I already done a video about that, and I'm going to drop you a link down below in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. Today will be only my thoughts, things I liked about the machine, things I don't like about the machine, things that you can potentially fix yourself to get really nice accurate cuts, and things that are beyond saving. Okay, let's talk about it then. First of all, the things that I've actually enjoyed with this table saw. The onboard storage, absolutely fantastic. If you are pushed for space in your workshop and you don't want to have all the accessories lying absolutely everywhere, then this is really good in that respect. On top of it, it's actually very small footprint, and when you fold everything up, it doesn't take much space at all. Now, the tabletop itself, it is fairly standard size. It will tackle most jobs. However, it will struggle with larger boards or larger plywood sheets or MDF like that. Yes, it does have a wing that extends to the right hand side, but it's definitely not the size of, for example, Rage 5S Evolution. However, for most applications, the size of the bed will be absolutely fine. And the most important thing about this tabletop, there's no gaps and it's dead on straight and flat. The next thing that I fairly enjoy with this machine is the mitre gauge itself. It's actually quite well made. However, if you have seen my initial video on this, when you install this gauge in, I had some side to side movement in the mitre slot. However, I was actually able to adjust the mitre gauge, so now I've got no side to side movement on this T-bar. These plastic inserts were the other way around, okay? So those little stops there were facing inwards towards the blade. Now I swapped them around. I've put a screwdriver, so basically something to force that plastic to be outside, to be pushed into the mitre slot, and I fastened those screws, and that gave me probably about a millimeter, maybe 1.5 millimeters, that is now making sure that this bar is not sliding left to right. And obviously I've done the same thing with the other one. Not sure if that's the correct way of doing it, but hey, it worked for me, and the mitre gauge works fabulously. Now, another thing that I really enjoyed about this machine is the metal insert here. It's really nice and solid, and especially comparing that to the Orange Evolution plastic insert, there's no comparison, okay? This insert does not have any flex in it and is just safe to use. On top of it, changing the height of the riving knife with just that one lever there, it's absolutely fantastic, especially, you know, if you want to do some grooves or dados, anything like that, you need to hide the riving knife below the level of the top tooth, and, you know, it's just so simple to use. In a similar way, you do have the locking lever just over there for the blade itself, so it's much easier to actually change the blade as well. Another thing that I really like about this machine is the onboard outfeed support. You know, you don't have to create any outfeed tables, anything like that. It actually extends quite far, and it will give you the support you need for most applications. So it's very good that it's on board. Simple thing, but it just works well. Now, if you did watch my initial video with this saw, you know that this table saw has got a very quick time to stop, okay? So when you operate this machine, to the time you press stop button on it, probably takes 2 seconds for it to stop fully. Check this out. And initially I was quite concerned that an abrupt stop may cause the blade, the flange, the nut that is holding the blade to come loose. I've actually did see some reviews with this table saw from people that had that problem, that the nut itself was coming loose, and obviously you know what that means. the blade is coming loose as well. But I have to report that I've not had that issue at all, and I have been running this table saw for quite a significant amount of time with different types of projects. So from the initial video that I made till today, I must have made hundreds of cuts with this table saw, and I am happy to report that there is no issue with that flange, with that nut coming loose, at least with my table saw. And I have to say, from a safety standpoint, that is a very good feature to have on a table saw. Now, when it comes to the squareness of the miter slots to the blade itself, there's no issues with that. As I said, the tabletop is absolutely spot on, and obviously I've measured everything up and everything's nice, straight and parallel. However, now let's talk about some negatives. This is a mistake. There needs to be a flap for a quick shutdown of this machine. Right, there's nothing there, it's just the button. You need a quick stop emergency flap on top of it. What's the point of having the quick stop on the saw itself if you can't find that bloody button? And it is quite tiny. For me, the tabletop is actually fairly low. I'm 186 centimeters tall, and I really have to bend to find that button. And so many occasions, it took me a few good seconds to actually locate that until I was able to press it. So yeah, it's a nice feature for the quick stop. But if you can't find the button or press the stop itself, it's not good at all, is it? It really puzzles me why they've not added a simple flap to the quick stop button. Absolutely amazing. They've invested in so many things with this table saw, but not thought about such a simple and easy to make safety feature. Now, when it comes to the performance of the motor itself, absolutely no issues at all. There's plenty of power. And as I said, you know, it was cutting through, it was buried in a beam that's 1.8 meters long. And I had to do quite a lot of cuts with it, and it tackled that with no issues at all. So when it comes to the power, and the motor itself runs fabulously without any hiccups. One feature when it comes to this table saw that I'm a little bit on the fence is the blade guard. Okay, it does have a nice feature of actually installing it on the riving knife. Super simple to do with a lock-in lever, no problems at all. However, on so many occasions I had my timber stuck underneath in front of that blade guard, so I actually had to raise it a little bit to move the material through. And to be fair, it's not actually stopping that much dust heading towards you as you are standing in front of the machine. It's still a fairly decent spray of sawdust that will land on your clothing. This blade guard absolutely begs for a dust port on the top to get all that dust out and prevent most of the dust flying at the operator. However, for some strange reason, it doesn't have that. And to be fair, the difference between having the blade guard on and not having it at all, the spray is still significant. However, nothing to compare to Rage 5 Evolution. Rage 5 Evolution, where it comes to the dust extraction just doesn't work. And in comparison, this table saw, with that regard, is far better, but it's still bad. And the reason for that is a job site saw, okay? It's not made for a workshop environment. It's a really decent job site saw. And yeah, the dust extraction is pretty good, but you know, it's not gonna catch 90% of the dust. When operating this table saw, I was using my shop vac with the Cyclone, and I also do have a massive chip extractor at the back, and I did hook it up and it made no difference. Obviously, the port itself is as big as a normal hose, so you can't expect miracles when you connect a big extractor like I've got at the back. So the difference in amount of sawdust was marginal, and it still had a fairly decent amount on the floor underneath the machine, and obviously in front of it as well. But again, nothing to compare to Evolution Rage 5S if you are thinking about upgrading from that saw, for example, to this one, or if you think buying one or the other. Now, so far, this table saw is actually quite decent. It does cost about 500 British pounds, and I would say more or less the quality justified that price. However, there is one massive letdown to this table saw, mainly the fence itself. Now, the fence itself is nice and straight, there's no strange things on it, and there's no issues with that at all. It's at 90 degrees to the table, no issues at all, and that's at the whole length of the fence itself. The problem comes when you try to actually lock it in place. So as you move it, you've got wobble at the back, look at that, wobble at the front, massive movement. And it's not a question, you know, if it does lock on square, it does lock on square. Check this out. Can you see the difference? What's the gap? It can be absolutely huge, okay? And that's obviously narrower from the front. However, makes no difference. You're going to have a larger gap at the front, smaller gap at the back. Now, one suggestion I had from my viewers is that when you actually are locking the lever here, locking the fence, you need to pull the lever towards yourself, and then the fence will straighten up and you lock it in place. And you know what? That was the only way, the quickest way to actually lock this fence, that it would be parallel to the blade itself without any strange gaps. Not good enough in my opinion. Now, I had a look and I was trying to tinker around with this, but unfortunately it's the way it's designed, okay? It does have wobble at the front and it does have wobble at the back. Now, you can actually reduce the wobble at the back. Over here you do have a nut. If you do it up a little bit, you will reduce the wobble at the back of the fence. However, the wobble at the front will stay. It's just too much of a gap from the rail itself and how the whole section here is machined. And this is not plastic, this is all aluminium, I presume. I was trying to shim it and everything, but that was just a waste of time. If there is any adjustment to this, any more adjustment to this, to make sure that it doesn't wobble left to right like I showed you, please let me know down below in the comments. As for me, at the moment, this is the biggest letdown from this fairly good quality table saw. But if your fence is no good, you're not gonna get straight cuts, and that's defeating the object of having a table saw. And because of the problems with the fence itself, I didn't have any trust in it. So every single time before locking the fence itself, I was measuring from the front of the teeth on the blade, then from the back, to make sure I've got nice and accurate position of the fence itself. And it's just time consuming, and it's not the way to do it. Later on, with pulling on the lever towards myself and then locking it out, it actually gives you a fairly decent result. And after checking it so many times, it proved to me that, you know, it was parallel to the blade in that technique. But is that the way to operate a table saw, to operate a fence? Well, I'm not sure. However, it actually does work. Now, when it comes to this fence, I am not sure if the fence, the issue with the fence is just my issue with my table saw. If you do have this table saw, please let us know down below in the comments if the fence is exactly what I showed you, or maybe your fence is absolutely perfect. If the fence is actually a one-off or 1 in 100, I think that, you know, it doesn't happen on a regular basis, then it's a very good choice. For £500, you are getting a solid tool. It's very compact, and if you're looking for something that will store away neatly and you can transport it easily, it's a very decent choice. However, If the fence issue is a common problem and and it comes with every single table saw, I don't think I could recommend this. Would I swap my Evolution Rage 5S for the Metabo TS254? No, and that's because I do have enough room to actually have my Evolution table saw. And from another perspective, I know it's accurate because I made it so, and I've made so many jigs for it, I cannot be bothered to make it again for this table saw. But hey guys, obviously laughs aside, it's a solid tool, okay? If the fence is just the problem with my table saw and it's not a common problem, it's definitely worth having a look at this. And for those guys that do have this table saw, please now use the comment section down below to tell us if you had any issues with this table saw and what issues they were, if you managed to fix them, or maybe what's the customer service like when you come across any issues and you let Metabo know, do they actually help out? It's all crucial information that for everybody that is looking for a table saw will be very helpful. So for all of you that will leave a comment, thank you very much for doing so. So these are my thoughts about this machine. Not a full recommendation for sure. I'm a little bit on the fence with this one. Now I'm going to leave some links to this table saw down below if you are interested in buying it, so you can read more about it, and don't forget about my initial video on it as well. However, if you are interested in other videos that or projects that I do in my workshop, I've got some really cool playlists for you just over here. Go and have a look, and maybe you'll find your next video to watch. Hopefully I'll see you on one of my videos there. Take care.